So I'm going to take you back probably about 10 years. I'm a member of the National Speakers Association, and I was going up to the meeting up in the Boston area, and there was a particular hotel that I always stayed at, but it was booked. So I had to stay at another hotel. So what I want to point out here is the serendipity of what happens in our lives. I'm at a place I wasn't supposed to be. The next morning, our meetings are all day Saturday, and in the morning I had breakfast. It was very crowded in the hotel, so I wanted to sit by myself and read my book. And a woman came over to me and she said, "Do you mind if I sit with you?" And I thought to myself, yeah, I do, but I was very polite and said, "No, please join me." And then I deigned to speak to her, and I said, "What brings you to Massachusetts?" And she said, this was in June, she said, "It's my granddaughter's middle school graduation." And I thought, boring. How many of you have like things that go through your mind, but your poker face is, I'll be cordial. So and then she said to me, "And what brings you to Massachusetts?" I said, "I'm a speaker and I have my meeting up the road." And then she said, "What do you speak about?" And I said, "I talk about turning your passion into a business." And I said, "I'm an artist and that's what I've done." And I noticed how much more interesting she became the more I was talking. You know how that works? And then she said, "Well, I'm an artist too." And I thought, everybody thinks they're an artist. So I started to qualify her. I said, "What do you do?" And she said, "I'm a painter." And I thought, "Do you sell your work?" And she said, "Yes." And I thought, "Where?" And she said, "New York." And I'm thinking, Buffalo. I'm giving this woman no credit. How often do you do that? You just make these assumptions about people. And she said, "Manhattan, 57th Street. Well, anybody who knows that's like the heart of the gallery district, or it was for sure. And then all of a sudden I'm thinking, yeah, I know nothing about contemporary art. I feel like a total jerk. How did I ever get into this conversation? But I'm cool. And I said, "Tell me about your work." And she said, "I do these large autobiographical triptychs, and then I stitch on them." And I said, "What's your name?" And she said, "Faith Ringgold." Now, I just happened to know who Faith Ringgold was because the artwork that I did used quilts, and in all the quilt magazines, Faith Ringgold was always, she was always talked about and published. So I said, "You're Faith Ringgold? Can you wait here a minute?" I ran out to the car. I bring back my book. This is the first book I wrote called Decorating Eggs. And I bring in, and I love saying this in Connecticut, a dozen of my eggs in a Stu Leonard's egg carton. And Faith Ringgold looks at every page of my book. She's thumbing through it. And I am growing to love this woman. It was wonderful. And she's oohing and aahing. And then I open up the dozen eggs. And she said, "You can see how intricate they are." She said, "How much are they a dozen?" No one had ever asked me that question before. I quickly calculated they were $250 each. I quickly calculated $3,000. She said, "I would only sell them by the dozen, and I would sell them in a glass egg carton." Yeah, I thought, that's $1 million idea. And all because I said, "What brings you to Massachusetts?" I took a risk. I spoke to her. Long story short, 18 months later, I was working with a coach. We debuted them at Jacob Javits' gift show. This idea, this concept that she had given me, all that time ago. But it was an entire journey, and actually a lot about what my book Sole Proprietor is about is that journey of meeting Faith and then going through the process. Because my coach said to me, when I called her Monday morning, I said, "I got $1 million idea, and what am I going to do with it?" And she said, "What if you gave yourself a month just to do some research?" What a concept. Because I thought that surely every other Ukrainian Easter egg market maker on the face of the earth would have the same idea and get them to market before I did. How many others are there who even could have had that idea? So I took the time and actually brought them to market. So that gives you a little bit of idea of who I am and what I was up to.